We're back again with 30-minute live. Usually I do toy news and updates and stuff, but we had the Spider-Man Noir trailer drop, so I want to talk a little bit about Spider-Man Noir, and obviously what that character is, and what we saw in the trailer, and whatnot. So Spider-Man Noir. Spider-Man Noir is a character from obviously Marvel Comics. His history goes back quite far. Hang on, just mess around with my things here. We've seen him. He originated back in 2006, originally with the Noir series from Marvel. So it was basically a noir take on Spider-Man, in a kind of black and white, gritty backdrop. Very cool character, very cool character. It became kind of an instant kind of fan favorite. The setting is the early 30s, so like 1933 in the Great Depression. Very similar to the normal kind of Spider-Man history, where Spider-Man's bitten by a spider and gets spider powers, of course. First comic appearance was in December 2008 with Spider-Man Noir #1. Pretty cool comic book if you've read it. I remember reading this way back when and kind of fell in love with the character. I just really liked the alternate take. I mean, a lot of the takes on Spider-Man are very similar. There's kind of a similar kind of backdrop to it, whereas the Spider-Man Noir one had a different feel. You know, he had a gun, for example. It was set against the Great Depression, and as I said, it was it was all based around criminal backgrounds and stuff. So the Goblin had like a criminal empire, and Uncle Ben again was killed. I think it was something to do with sweatshops or strikes or something in sweatshops, that his Uncle Ben became was killed by the organization that was run by the Goblin, and then he gained his powers by breaking a spider idol. Now, if you're familiar with Spider-Man comics, the spider idol kind of pops up through various different stories, and yeah, he broke the spider idol. Loads of spiders came out, one of them bit him, and it gave him spider powers. So very sort of similar. There was Felicia Hardy's Black Cat in the storyline as well, but again on the back of the kind of 1930s background. The comics are much more dark. That's why on occasion this particular Spider-Man does kill people. It's all pretty cool. Aunt May is obviously in the comic books as well. So there's all the kind of elements that you would expect to see in a Spider-Man kind of storyline. Fast forward to the miniseries. The miniseries came out in 2008, ran till 2009. There was 4 issues, and it kind of just established the world further with kind of gangsters, corruption, and kind of that Sin City kind of vibe. Yeah, I mean, it was a cool story. I'm just trying to see if I've got any images here that I can share. After that, we got a mini series. We got Spider-Man Noir Eyes Without a Face. That was the next mini series that came out. Again, very cool artwork, very cool storyline, similar stuff, gangsters, gritty background, all the rest of it. We've seen him cross over with a whole bunch of things. So we've seen him in Web Warriors. We've seen him in more recently in like the Spider-Man Spider-Verse comic book lines. We've seen him in, obviously, Into the Spider-Verse was a big one, voiced by Nicolas Cage. We'll come back to that in a second. My favorite, we also saw him in Ultimate Spider-Man. We've seen him. My favorite though was Shattered Dimensions. So Shattered Dimensions was a computer game that came out in 2010, I want to say. Excuse me, 2010. And it basically, you had 4 versions of Spider-Man. You had Spider-Man 2099, you had your original Spider-Man, you had your symbiote suit Spider-Man, and you had Spider-Man Noir. And the game basically kind of jumped from storyline and story arc and across different times and multiverses and stuff. And that was a big introduction for me to Spider-Man Noir. I really enjoyed the Spider-Man Noir kind of gameplay in that. If you haven't played it, it's definitely a game that's worth picking up and having a look at, because it was a lot of fun. It really was. So yeah, so we saw him in other things like Ultimate Spider-Man, cameos in Ultimate Spider-Man. We then also had another mini-series in 2025, which was Spider-Man Noir, the Gwen Stacy affair, which introduced a second Noir with Gwen's powers in a more recent arc, but they're definitely playing around with the character there. Of course, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse is where a lot of people were introduced to the character. Voiced by Nicolas Cage, was a very cool inclusion into the Spider-Verse storyline. I think Nicolas Cage just kind of embodied the character completely. But now we've got the trailer. So we've had the trailer for the official trailer released for the. I'm just seeing if I've got any images here. No, I haven't. Right, we had the official trailer for the Amazon Prime. Oh no, I have got one. Here we go. Amazon Prime Spider-Man Noir series. What's really cool about this is they're releasing it in two versions. They're releasing it in black and white and in color as well. Rachel's just said happy birthday, Rachel. So they're releasing it in black and white and in color, which is very cool. So you can watch it obviously as it is in black and white, like the comic books, like the computer games and all the rest of it, or you can watch it in color. So similar to what they did with Werewolf by Night on Disney Plus. They released that obviously in black and white, how it is intended to be seen, and then I think it was about a year later they released it in full color. But they're releasing both of these Spider-Man Noir side by side, so you can watch it in color or you can watch it in black and white. And I'm not sure at the moment, because the trailer's been released in both black and white and in color, and there's definitely something to be said about color and seeing the different things. Let's talk a little bit about this particular version. So there's a couple of things to unpack here. So first of all, he's not playing a Spider-Man as such. He's playing a character called the Spider. So the costume design is pretty much how Spider-Man Noir looks in the comic books, and also how he looks in Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. But the character is very different. So this isn't a live action version of the character that we've seen in Into the Spider-Verse. This one is Nicolas Cage's Spider Noir, and in Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, it is Spider-Man Noir. So we are looking at Spider Noir. That's the name of the show. So it's not technically Spider-Man. His character's called the Spider. There's a couple of different things there were a couple of things that make it different. So in this particular show, he's going to gain his spider's powers still from a spider bite. Pretty much like we see in all alternate universe Spider-Man, but he's working as a private investigator rather than a reporter. So, you know, in a lot of the Peter Parker versions of the story, he's a reporter. In this one, he's a private investigator. In the comic books, as I said, Spider-Man Noir was raised during the Great Depression, dedicating his life to overthrowing the Goblin. The comics are much grittier, they're much darker. The Spider Noir trailer does confirm a couple of things, though. He does have superhuman abilities. We see him swinging around. We see him fighting various bad guys and stuff. And he's likely to share a lot, if not all, of the traditional Spider-Man powers. So we don't know whether his webbing is going to be organic or whether it's some kind of device, but I don't know. It's unlikely that the character, the Spider, is going to have to generate his own kind of webbing. I'm going to assume that it's going to be organic, like it is in the comic books. The other interesting thing is the name. This particular version, Nicolas Cage's version in Spider Noir, has been named Ben Reilly. Now, the version that we saw in Into the Spider-Verse is Peter Parker. In all of the Spider-Man Noir comics and stuff and versions that we've seen previously, it is Peter Parker that is Spider-Man Noir. In this trailer, it's not. It's Ben Reilly. This is the first time that we've ever seen Ben Reilly as Spider-Man Noir. So it gives Sony a little bit of leeway in regards to what they're going to do with the character. They don't have to necessarily follow the same storylines and backgrounds that they've had to follow previously. So obviously we're looking at a Ben Reilly version of Spider-Man Noir for Spider Noir, which is very cool. There's obviously probably a really self-explanatory reason as to why they've changed the name, and that of course is the Marvel Sony split over Spider-Man and all the rest of it. Marvel have got quite detailed requirements of how Peter Parker can be portrayed, and they can't deviate from that. So by using the name Ben Reilly, they obviously can then be a little bit more distant from these requirements and kind of do things that, you know, is new, that is fresh. So I'm all for it. I really am. I absolutely love the Spider-Man Noir character, and I think changing the version that we've seen in the comics to the live action is absolutely fine. That doesn't bother me at all. I think the most interesting thing will be how confused people will be, because obviously Nicolas Cage did voice Peter Parker in the Into the Spider-Verse, and now he's providing the acting and the voice for Spider Noir. So we're having the same actor portray two different versions of this character. So that, I think, could be a little bit confusing, and we'll kind of see what people make of that. So what do we know about it? What are the guaranteed things that we know about it? So we know that it's called Spider Noir. It's a live action noir superhero series set in the 1930s New York. It's planned to release on May 25th in the US and May 27th globally on Prime Video. If you're watching in the US, you can watch it on MGM Plus, and if you're watching it globally, you can watch it on Prime Video. There are 8 episodes in total, and it's going to be available in both black and white and full color. Ben Reilly is going to be a seasoned private investigator who is used to the city's criminal underworld, and there's hints that he used to be involved as a masked vigilante, but he's now kind of been dragged back into it. As I said, this is going to differ from most comic book versions because Noir is Peter Parker and they've switched it to Reilly. Now, Ben Reilly, as a lot of Spider-Man fans will know, is a clone of Peter Parker. Interestingly enough, that storyline wasn't introduced in the comic books until the 70s. So we weren't looking at Ben Reilly before the 70s, but this is based in the 30s. So how they're going to kind of spin that, I don't think it's necessarily going to be a clone of Peter Parker. I think it's just going to be a name change. There's a whole list of people involved in it. Nicolas Cage obviously being the main one. Let's have a look. What have I done? Some notes on this one. Let's talk about what we saw in the trailer. Now, if you can see this visual, there was a hint at least 4 villains in this. We had Sandman. Sandman is confirmed. That's the top image for those of you that can see it. Sandman was confirmed. We know that Sandman's going to be involved in the show. There was a blink and you miss it kind of spider mashup kind of looking character. There's a bit of an online debate of whether this is going to be Man Spider or whether this is going to be some kind of, dream sequence where he's it's him battling with the internal elements of being mixed with the spider, or whether it's some kind of spider god or something like that. But if it was Man Spider, that'd be very cool, but that's a completely different story arc that was introduced in the animated series. We haven't yet seen that version of Spider-Man on screen, so if Spider Noir was going to introduce Man Spider, that'd be quite cool. We also saw some guy that was lit up on fire, which hints towards maybe Molten Man. Could be Molten Man. And then we also saw a hand that had what looks like electricity running through it. So that's going to be obviously Electro. So there's potentially 4 villains in this show. Interestingly enough, we've not seen the Goblin, and the Goblin was, as I said, was a big character in the story, in the comic book story. But then this isn't Peter Parker, so they're going down a different angle. I don't think that Man Spider is going to be a big character. I don't think that's going to be a character that we're going to see a lot of. I think that that's more than likely going to be a dream sequence or some kind of nightmare sequence. I think Molten Man is a bit of a reach, maybe. I don't know. But I think Electro and Sandman are definitely kind of potentially there. What are your thoughts on Spider Noir? Are you excited for it? Is it something that you're looking forward to? Have you read any of the comic books? We've also seen him in various kind of action figure forms. You can get him as a 1/6 scale figure from various different companies. Marvel Legends have also done a number of Spider-Man Noir figures. They've done one back in, I think it was 2019. That was the kind of comic book version of Spider-Man Noir. And then they did the more recent versions from Into the Spider-Verse. So he's out there. He is out there. And he's, as I said, it's a character that we've kind of had since 2008, like I said, 2008 was the original appearance. 2008, December 2008, Spider-Man Noir #1. So he has been around for a little while. This, of course, being the first time we're going to see him in live action. Let me just have a look at that. There we go. So in regards to Nicolas Cage's version of the character, I don't know. I think Nicolas Cage, personally, I think he's a good actor for the role. Because it's not Spider-Man Noir and it's Spider Noir, I suppose that could be a little bit confusing in regards to obviously already having him as Spider-Man Noir Into the Spider-Verse. I think that would be my only concern at the moment. There's going to be a little bit of kind of confusion in regards to whether this is the same character or a different character, because the look is very similar, very, very similar. They've pretty much copied the look exactly, as you can see here from the poster on that one and the screenshot there from Into the Spider-Verse. I loved him in Into the Spider-Verse, to be honest. Yeah, he was one of my favorite characters. I think there's just something very cool about it. As I said, if you get a chance, play that Into the Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions game. It's an old game now. I think it came out on the Xbox 360. I think that's kind of how long ago we're looking. We're 2018 was the movie, and Shattered Dimensions was 2010. Yeah, 2010, I think it was. So yeah, we're looking at Xbox, but it's a really cool game, like a really, really cool game. Definitely worth playing, and gives you a much better understanding of the backstory if you haven't got the means to kind of obtain the comics. I mean, I know you can buy them as graphic novels and stuff now as well. So they are out there. That would be, if I was going to give you any kind of history in regard, I mean, you can, okay, let me put it this way. If you want to pick up something new, the Gwen Stacy affair is a new miniseries that came out in 2025. So that's going to be it's going to be the easiest one to pick up, but the story is going to differ slightly to what we know about Spider-Man. If you want the real backstory, go back to the 2008 Spider-Man Noir. A bit harder to get hold of, but it's still out there, and you can get it on graphic novel. You can get it on download and stuff like that. A little bit newer was the Eyes Without a Face miniseries. Again, very, very cool, and just kind of continued the story on from that 2008 miniseries. So we got I think it was four, I think, 4 issues in the original one, and then how many were in? I didn't actually write that down, but the Eyes Without a Face storyline carried that on. So again, it was a mini series, so you're looking at kind of 8 to 10 issues max. He does pop up in Spider-Verse, the comic book, Web Warriors, and a handful of other Spider-Man titles as well. He is a very well established character. So there we go. It's cool. It's a cool version of Spider-Man. There's something very exciting about like a gritty version of Spider-Man. I just hope that it doesn't fall into the trap that a lot of the other Spider-Man properties do when they're not managed by Marvel Studios. But this is the one that I think I'm most hopeful. Madam Web, Morbius, Venom to an extent, you know, they all didn't hit the nail the way that we wanted it to. So yeah, fingers crossed this one kind of does what we're expecting it to do. Right, these streams are scheduled for like half an hour, so I've got a few minutes left. Let me just quickly touch on some of the other news that has come out today. Let me just load my screen up. But yeah, let me know in the comments if Spider-Man Noir is something you're looking forward to, or Spider Noir, sorry. I'm going to have to really get used to saying that. If it's something that you're looking forward to, or if it's something that you're going to pass on. Let me just get my notes up. So yeah, doing these lives randomly at different times, Monday to Friday, just kind of updating you on everything that's been going on in the world of collectibles. So we'll forget about that. So I wonder whether we'll get any merchandise to tie in with this. The Spider-Man franchise that isn't managed by Marvel Studios, we don't seem to get a huge amount of merchandise or anything like that go with. Here we go. My notes are loaded up. What have we got? So if you want to see that trailer, you can head over. It's pretty much everywhere at the moment. I was tempted to put it on the video with me, but I didn't want to kind of hit any copyright violations or anything. So go and have a look at that. It's on the Amazon account. Yeah. Right, Marvel's Epic Collection. We got new volumes out and more arriving through spring. Toy wise, obviously, it's all about New York Toy Fair. Let's be honest. Mandalorian Grogu merchandise has been announced. We've also got some new Crunch Lab STEM system lines out as well. They're very cool. I know my youngest really enjoys those. They're cool. Hasbro bringing out Mandalorian Grogu stuff. But yeah, it's all about Toy Fair. Let's be honest. It starts tomorrow, New York Toy Fair, 14th through to the 17th. It's hopefully going to have a whole bunch of new reveals. So we shall see. We shall see. There we go. Okay, so there we go. That's about it for today. I didn't really prepare much toy-wise because I just wanted to talk about Spider-Man Noir. But yes, in a nutshell, as a quick recap, Spider-Man Noir, the new TV show, coming to Amazon Prime worldwide, or MGM Plus for US, based on Ben Reilly version of the character, not the Peter Parker that we're used to. Character originally introduced to us in 2008 in Spider-Man Noir #1, ran through a bunch of different miniseries, including Spider-Man Noir, Eyes Without a Face, and the most recent Gwen Stacy affair. We've seen him pop up in various different things, from Into the Spider-Verse to Shattered Dimensions to Ultimate Spider-Man, as well as things like Web Warriors and the Spider-Verse comic book line. It's going to be available in color and in black and white. It's all good. Today's Friday, so I'll be back on Monday with another 30-minute roundup, and I think it will be basically covering all of the stuff that we've seen at New York Toy Fair. But that's about it for me. Thank you very much for tuning in. Of course, if you are watching, then do like, share, subscribe, all those things. It is very much appreciated. And do go and check me out on other socials as well. Got a bunch of stuff coming up over the weekend and some other stuff coming out next week. Thank you very much. I will see you again soon.